evening, everybody. Welcome once again to Kev the Noise Davis. This is the Noise Podcast, Carts to Cars, and it gives me the greatest of pleasure to introduce yourselves to Mr. Lachlan Hennick and Dad Ben. Good afternoon and evening, fellas. How are you?
Good, mate. You?
Good to have you on the show. Great to be able to get you finally in the studio. This is Isolation Studios, our plush settings for this afternoon's talk, and it's all about Cars to Cars. Obviously, Lockie, that's the direction you're kind of going in. I want to get into the nitty-gritty of that. But first of all, I want to know, where was the first time you got in a kart? What did you do? And why did you do it?
So I first got into a kart at Ipswich Go-Kart Club. It actually wasn't my idea to get into go-karting first. You know, Dad being heavily invested into V8 supercars and all sorts. I was growing up around watching it on TV and all sorts of things. But I personally didn't take very much interest into it. You know, I was more the rugby and all that sort of sport. But Oscar got a pair of race boots for his birthday, which was sort of a hint of go-karting. So he went out and had his first go, and I was playing rugby still and all that, and Dad would go out with him. And then I came out one time and I was like, can I jump in and have a crack? And they're like, yeah, sure. So I chucked on Derek from Power Republic's race suit and helmet.
Yeah.
Got a licence on the way up there actually, and went out for my first hit. You know, cruising around, not going full throttle on the straights and all that. But just eventually got better, and yeah.
Was this Cadet 9 or Cadet 12 that you were in when you first started then?
I first got into it when I was Cadet 12.
So you were a late bloomer compared to some who go even earlier than Cadet 9. So your thought process at that point, having obviously been in Dad's cars and whatever you do, jump in a go-kart, did you think when you first got in one, and Cadet 12 is a little bit quicker than the Cadet 9, you got in, you low to the ground, and there's potential of it to go really fast. Was it like, oh, this is fun, or this is scary, or I think I could do even more of this? What were your thoughts at that point?
Well, when you first jump in, you know, your heart's pounding and you're getting all shaky and getting all excited. But yeah, it was really fun once I got out there, cruising around, you know, leaning into the corners, racing around with Oscar, Desi telling me to go faster, and obviously you just, like any hobby, as you get better, you have more fun. Just kept going out for practice days, and really loved it, and yeah.
And I think Des's philosophy, if I remember rightly, is always thousands of laps. Until you've done thousands of laps, you're not really expected to be quick almost around any circuit. So was that your sort of, your motive at the time when you first got into it? Just going to have to do lap after lap after lap to eventually get quicker and quicker? Is that how it was going generally at that point?
So we had this thing with Desi, and it was like 54 second, they'd call it 54 town. Then you'd slowly break your way into 53 town, and obviously, video games, I was really into that at my age, so Dad would bribe me with a bit of in-game money with the game. So if I got down to a 54, he'd give me like $50. Yeah. So it was a competition between me and my brother as well. So we just kept knocking down time, and then eventually Desi said if you get down to a 52, you'd be able to race. Right. So eventually I got down to that, and then we registered for our first race.
Yeah, cool. Benny, your turn. Now it's a real key question. You're one of the most colourful characters in karting at the moment, but obviously with a kid at this age, and you have two of them, what made you think that this was the way you would like your kids to go, kart racing, and it being a sport where if you first of all look from the outside in, most people don't even know karting exists. A little bit about motocross people, and until they're into it, they don't know that all these tracks are everywhere. So it's a very niche kind of sport to get into, but does have avenues to go. What made you want to get your kids into kart racing?
Yeah, well, correct. And I was the same. I didn't even know that there wasn't a Gold Coast track until I started, investigating about getting our kids into go-karting. So it all come around the COVID time. So we were obviously locked down, as everyone knows, and I call them the COVID babies, for karting, because that's what they were. So we were getting bored at home. So I Googled, just done a bit of research on some go-kart manufacturers on the coast. Good friend of mine, James Courtney, obviously, world champion in Tony Kart. So I got his idea, and he said, look, it's a Rolls Royce of go-karting. So anyway, so I looked at, who was a distributor, rang Derek from Power Republic, got a good vibe over the phone, went down, checked him out, said g'day, and just got a real good feel. And, look, I am so not mechanically minded. I couldn't even tell you what pressure the boys run, right, honestly. And that's, these teeth, whether lower teeth make you go quicker. That's not my philosophy. My philosophy is do what I do to bring the money in. Yeah. That this is having fun, and, and I'll let the professionals do that. So, So we engaged. So it's the whole idea going with Desi is that he took the karts to the track. It was literally rock up and and drive. So I had to get the kids there, and fed. energised and ready to go.
Yeah,
So and then
yeah.
and we just did track. It was Kalula one weekend, Ipswich the next, Warwick the next, and then Toowoomba. And we just did those. That was our 4 weekends of the month, and we enjoyed it as a family, and everyone could go, and we could take the dogs, and then so it was really good from that side, and. It's not until you get into it and then you hear about, state titles and then AKC. And so we're learning at the same time. There's no, open book where you can go, all right, let's go to a manual and see, hey, we need this licence to do here. I think there needs to be something, a bit of a guideline, because everyone I've spoken to is all, no one's got really any guideline of where to go or how to do it. It's just, doing your own research and what's the best way. No one knows, but, even what type of licence, Derek was great. He goes, this is the time you need to be roughly to be able to enter a race, and which was 2 seconds slower than the actual pace of the field.
Yeah.
Obviously with lap times, they don't overlap you. So, but your P plates, how many races you got to do on your Ps, and what age brackets cadet 9s, what age brackets cadet 12s, and then where you go from there. So it's all self-learning for us as well, and we're still learning. But no.
So at this point, was it still, because you've just got into it and there's 2 kids to race, was it still kind of designed around just being a hobby and you weren't really looking at progression any further than being, a experienced kart racer right up into the teenage years, or had you already considered where it might lead to?
No, well, obviously I know where it's going to lead to, and they say don't live your life through your kids. Well, I certainly do, because I never got to go-kart, but I never pushed them. As I still ask them, are we having fun? It's a stepping stone for us.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people do this. And I suppose this is where the politics for go-karting get involved, is the parents.
Yeah.
They think their kids are going to be the next F1.
Yeah.
They live everything through their kids, all the emotions.
Yeah.
This is a stepping stone for us. We've got the ability to use it as a stepping stone and have fun doing it. And that's why I do the officiating, officials course.
Yeah.
I like to have fun. I get bored. But it's about having fun. It's a stepping stone for us.
Yeah.
We do take some weekends, to heart, but you get over it on Monday morning. Shit happens, and then you go to the next race the next weekend, and you forget about that. That weekend's forgotten now. But no, I always knew that this was just going to be a stepping stone, and we'll move up, and But just given the age and what they can do, especially someone like Oscar, starting at the age of 9/10. He can't really get into a car for another, at that stage, 4 years minimum, to maybe 5 years.
Yeah.
So that's a decent time within this community of karting, and
All right, Lockie, key question at this point. You cadet 12, you've had some experience at that, and what I always find is when I've commentated on multiple kids racing, there's what I call the click moment, where suddenly they go from a mid-pack to the rear of field driver to suddenly being a winning driver and getting right up there and being potentially on the podium almost every race, and the times being comparable to anybody at the front end of the field. When do you think that clicked? Was it cadet 12, or was it when you got into the junior sort of ranks? Where do you think that happened for you?
Well, personally, it actually took me quite a while to get that click. I wasn't, cadet 12, we moved up. Oscar was cadet 9. We moved him up because Desi said that's the last time we'd ever race. So, the brother competition, we'd always bang into each other. So Mum was sort of like, nah, let's just move Lockie up, and I had to go up. So I went up to juniors. And then, we were doing the club rounds, and I was the mid to low pack driver. And the click only really happened about 18 months ago when I started doing the AKC, like towards end half last year. I went down and did a Golden Power Series down at Albury, and that's when it really clicked for me.
Yeah. So I guess what you found then was not so much the fact that you're up against club day drivers that mid pack, like you say, to the lower end. Suddenly you're thrust into the competitiveness of national drivers, and that brought your level up and made you feel much more confident that you could go that next step. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. So you got your AKC drivers that obviously need track time, so they come down and do the Ipswich meets and all those sorts of things. So you get a bit of glimpse, which is Ipswich is sort of, I call it the mini AKC.
Yeah.
There's always a couple hundred entries, and they're always good drivers. Ranging from front to rear field. So when the drivers step away to go to AKC, you go, oh, that's that's the league, that's the best of the best.
Yeah.
So you definitely you step up, and then you start from the back and you make your way up.
Yeah.
You're racing all different sorts of drivers, learning different things, meeting new friends, and so I reckon it definitely improved my driving skill.
Right, Ben, a real key question again, and I know with the Desi from Power Republic side of it, he does a great job in mentoring kids and bringing them on. But I think, as you alluded to earlier, a parent that isn't mechanically minded and doesn't know how to set the cart up to do whatever it needs to do to race, at what point in the juniors was it the Richie McLeod sort of decision to get somebody on board to really, I think, manage, mentor and bring on what is now going to be a data collection setup process for getting somebody who can drive a cart fast to suddenly know how to tweak something on the cart to make it go that half a tenth quicker? Was that something you really decided I needed to do right now in juniors and progress with him, or was it in the background already?
No, it was in the background already. Obviously, Derek, Derek's got his specialised field. He's still got his shop. He's got his wife at home, Amy, and and what Derek did to take us to the local tracks, and then we had to step it up and do the AKC rounds, and we're going to do that not last year, the year before. And we told Derek, about June, July the year before, hey, next year we're going to do AKC. Do you reckon you can, do you reckon you can do it? And Derek's like me. Yes, say yes, and then we'll deal with it. I had all confidence that Derek would have taken us. He's got the truck. He would have got us there somehow, and we would have done it. Would we have done it up the front with the guys? No, because Derek's still got his, he still does his engines. He's still got his shop, which is his core business, right? So we were still looking at avenues, and then Jack Beaton obviously was using Richie McLeod, the Beaton boys, all the Beaton boys actually, not just Jack Beaton, but all the Beaton boys.
Yeah.
And we just got talking to Justin Beaton. He's a father from the same school that the boys go to, and he goes, "Hey, look, Jack's moving overseas to go on to the F4 venture."
Yeah.
Our mechanic Richie McLeod, if you're looking for a mechanic, he'd love to mentor your boys.
Yeah.
And I said, but I need someone to drive the van and set up. And he goes, mate, that's what he wants to do. You buy him a van, he'll take his dog, and he's on road. That's what he wants to do. He can't sit still. He loves his stuff.
Yeah.
So it was like one door closed, another door opened.
Yeah.
We probably should have done that move 6 months earlier, but AKC, the year was already completed, so we wouldn't have gained anything in that last half of the year.
Yeah.
Who we would have gone to? We would have went to another team, whether that was Project X, Patrizi, Tyler Greenberry, whoever that may be, but I don't think we still would have got what I wanted for the boys, the one-on-one.
Yeah, so you prefer the one-on-one interaction and the very focused
100%,
design aspect you're going to get with a one driver coach
correct,
mentor.
Correct, and and you've obviously seen the way I operate in our outfits and everything. I'm all professionalism, team image, and I like that and control. I like the control side of it, of where we're heading. Yeah. And if the team wants to go to one race, and we want to go to another, well, then it's going to become, hang on, they've got 8 drivers that want to go to Townsville, well, we want to go and do Albury. Yeah. Well, how does that work? Because I don't have a trailer, I don't know what I'm doing. So, at least if we've got and we've been, there's been a few people within the go-karting community that have told us the way we've done it, they probably should have done it, and they're part of big teams, because... Yeah. It's not, you get your politics in the big teams, you get, the confrontation, you get all of that, the driver does well, it's just, you get, at least Richie knows how the boys work. Yeah. The boys know how Richie operates. Yeah. It took us a couple of months to get that right.
Yeah.
There was some blood, there was some tears, there was some fighting, there was some giving up. But we all know how everyone operates, how I operate. I come in and do a bit of a joke, and Richie just deals with that now. Back in the day when he's full on and pulling out motors and doing this, and I'd come in and throw a little joke in, and he'd just look at me like, mate, right now is not the time. but now he knows that that's me, so he deals with that. And we know how he operates, we know how the boys operate, when they're tired, when they're not, and all of that. And that's building over the last 2 years, and it's been really good. Was
there a point in this section now then where you've got Richie McLeod and there was the data? Is that something you've used now? You're well into the data, or not in your karting career at the moment?
Personally, I don't look at data, so Richie would go after a session, he'll download the data off our Micron.
So Richie does look at the data?
Yes.
Right, okay, but then he'll interpret what he needs to interpret and feed the information back to you? Is that how he does it?
He'll go back to his motel room at the end, he'll be, when he's concentrated and not, setting up go-karts and all that, he'll look at it with him and Joey, and then he'll give me a call at night time and like 6 o'clock and just ask, hey mate, what do you think? Was it a bit slippery, or did it have too much grip, or this and that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, and he likes it because it gives me time to think about it.
Yeah.
And if I don't have an answer to tell me to think about it, I'll call him back and I'll go like, yeah, Richie, actually, yeah, you're right. It was pushing a bit in the rear, and I had too much grip. And he goes, all right, and he does his own thing for the next morning, and it's all set up and done by the time I'm there tomorrow.
Yeah, right. So the interaction is very much a relaxed after the fact. Get the calm situation in play. Finish with the karting. Finish with the race day. Get the details out. Make the changes. Come back in. Try it. See how you go.
Yeah.
And that obviously works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And you're happy.
And you got someone like, Oscar, who's 12 years old. You come in and tell him when he's finished 10th or 11th, what's the car? No, it's crap. Don't have power. No power.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then you take that emotion out, let him cool down, and then he goes, getting out of the corner. But Richie's been in this sports for over 20 plus years.
Yeah, I've seen his
so, mate,
resume.
He can sit there and he can just watch the way other drivers drive and how the boys drive, and he can overlap that in his own mind.
Yeah.
Because that just comes with years and years of hanging around the track, hundreds of thousands of laps.
Yeah.
And that just comes naturally to him. Naturally.
Yeah.
So and that's a beauty, that's a big thing for us.
From the coaching side of it then, with regards to racing, obviously everybody, first of all, when they get in a car, is just trying to do a fast lap, right? And the fast lap for qualifying, for whatever. You've got to learn how to drive a car, get around a corner fast, and out of a corner quick, and so on and so forth. At what point was it where, right, now you've got to learn how to line this kid up and overtake him without touching him, but be able to use the speed and the braking thing that you've learned and be able to get past people multiple times to get to the front of a race? So was that something that Richie had to really dial into you, or had you picked up most of it through your Cadet 12 and early days anyway?
No, so I was a more passive driver. I'd get real scared, and if someone just turned a little bit while I was in a move, and I'd be far enough ahead, and they'd just turn a little bit, I'd back right out, and I'd be like, oh, no. So, I was a real passive driver, real scared. And Richie helped me bring my confidence up, telling me, and then we'd go watch the races together, and he'd be like, drive like him. And then you got someone like Oscar, who's a real...
We had to go the other way. We had to turn him down.
He's like coming in, and they'll turn in, he'll turn back, and blocking and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So you got, which is, I give full credit to Richie. He's got to coach Oscar one way and tell him to dial it back, and then he's got to tell me to, step it up some.
Right.
So Richie put that into me, and so Richie did help with that.
Yeah, cool, right. And you found that obviously successful because, as we know, you've got a few state titles under your belt now, and things are going really, they're progressing well. Something, Ben, we will talk about it later a little bit further, but with it being a progression for, a pathway into motorsport, was it really a key point that you wanted Lockie and even Oscar to be able to learn sort of peripheral vision, open wheel contact, and the racing aspect of really low to the ground, fast contact sport or non-contact sport, for him to be able to progress that into cars? Was it something that you really thought was necessary?
Yeah, 100%. And I've seen a lot of late bloomers, that didn't do karting, and they've got to learn racecraft. And racecraft's a big thing. And like you touched on it just before, how you qualify. That's a big thing, and it's very different to how you race. How you race at the back of the pack or the middle of the pack is very different how you race at the front of the pack. How you race at the very front by leading is very different how you race in second. And these are things that the boys have had to learn over the years. And that doesn't come naturally. It might for the odd freak, but that comes over time. Now, the boys have learned racecraft. Now, all they've got to do is learn the fundamentals and the differences of cars, from a go-kart, but they've got the racing aspect craft done, taken care of. Where someone that hasn't done go-karting, they've got to learn racecraft, they've got to learn how to change gears, they've got to learn how to start, they've got to learn safety cars, they've got to learn all of this, where Lockie's just got to learn that difference between a go-kart and a car. Where the racing's still kind of the same, the rules are the same, you can't overtake on, on a yellow flag, full safety car, you got to stay down the middle of the tram tracks, all of these things. He already knows what different flags are. What these kids that jump straight into cars, they've got to learn all of that as well. So I reckon go-karting is definitely, for grassroots racing, it has to be one of the best things. And you got to do it, and it's got to be here forever. And that's why I try and say that I'm changing and making go-karting great again. I don't think it was ever not great, you know, but you've just got the parents that just get too invested and too involved in it, and they're just going to understand that it is a stepping stone for almost all kids, you know.
Yeah.
They might just do go-karting and then realise, hey, you know, I'm going to keep doing this, you know, Declan Matthews and Jay Matthews, you know, those guys, they've done it through their whole career, and now he's taken on a driver training, you know, outfit, which is great. That's cool. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Then you've got other people that have gone, you know, Brock Feeney, that have gone on to V8 supercars, etc. So there's many different avenues.
Yeah.
There's a couple of kids now, the Q Sales, Hugo.
Yeah.
He's into data. So he races, but he's now taken on the data,
Yeah.
and he actually just goes to the racetracks now, and he's with the team, and he goes and just looks at all their data, and he's a 14-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's you go all the way to F1s doing data.
Yeah,
You know, you don't have to be a driver. There's only 15 spots for a driver in F1s. How many data people are there? There'd be hundreds in each of the teams. So I reckon it's a good. There's many different avenues through go-karting.
On that point, the big teams, as we mentioned earlier, there might be 15 drivers in the tents with a professional team, and what we know is that they can overlay data and see who's fast in what corner, where the braking points are, where the acceleration point is, whether things are working on a car. You've deliberately gone the other way with one driver, one coach, one mentor, one set of data for him. That can work for others and not work for some. So you just obviously felt that it's a better way for you to go for your kids.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I always obviously thought numbers. You know, the more data. You know, coming in's a lot better. You know, 2 cars better than 1, 4 cars better than 2. You know, but also saying that, the mechanic, if you've got one guy that's getting all the data and then he's trying to tell you how to do things, he doesn't know how lock-on operates. Where Richie knows how, you know, and it's even when, you know, you cover up your settings on your front, your front of your car. You don't tell anyone your tyre pressures. You know, you do all you don't want anyone knowing what you're doing with axles or anything.
Yeah.
Richie doesn't really care what people see our cars because how he sets it up is for Lachlan. Lachlan drives very different to you. Lachlan drives very different to me and very different to that guy. So, you know, his setup's not going to work for you. And you might get a little bit better out of a certain thing, but his whole setup's not going to work for you. And that one-on-one with Richie, you know, he's got 2 boys to look after, Oscar and Lachlan, and he knows how they drive. He, you know, there's not much else from getting data from anyone else. You know, he'll look at different times and he'll see how people drive, but that's enough for him. He doesn't need extra data to overlay.
Right, cool. Lockie, from karting, there's a definite progressive plan. First of all, tell me about the F4. Was that a Spanish circuit you drove it at? Which circuit was it?
The F1 one, Barcelona, Catalunya.
Circuit to Catalonia?
Yeah.
I've driven that too.
Really?
In a
Yeah.
Vauxhall, yeah. That's a heck of a circuit, mate. You must have had a blast driving an F4 around there.
So Dad made the decision to put me in the Ferrari Driver Academy Oceanic scouting program. He thought, because I obviously wanted, you know, everyone that jumps in, you know, Max Verstappen, all them, F1, that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
You all want to be an F1 driver. We went over there for 2 testing days to get prepped for the Ferrari Driver Academy.
Yep.
What an experience, you know, when you're driving out of the pits and, you know, you got, like, I'm going to drive over in Barcelona, but then when you're actually, like, in the car, about to drive out, and you're, like, looking at the grandstands people sit in to watch F1, you're like, you bring tears to your eyes, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
Thanks to Dad for giving me the opportunity to do that.
The preparation for that then, because they wouldn't just put you in a car, you measured up, seated up. Is there a lot goes into it before you actually get in the seat and push the throttle? Was there training in the classroom? Was there coaching on the circuit, coaching on the car? What else was involved in driving it?
You obviously have to have all the fireproof equipment.
Yeah.
You have to have you got to have heaps more stamina than a little go-kart compared to this big car.
Yeah.
Then you got the seat fitting in a foam that dries up around you that gets real hot.
Yeah.
You got to do that all your gear for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You got to have carbon. You got to have Hans device. You got to have all these different things. You know, you're actually in a seatbelt.
Yeah.
You're sitting in a weird position compared to a go-kart.
Yeah.
You got to change gears. You got to.
Are they paddle shift gears?
Yeah,
on their
F4's a paddle
Righto.
shift.
Yeah.
You only got a clutch to take off.
Yeah.
So you got to think of all these different things.
Yeah.
I never had a clutch before, so I'm sitting there, coming out of the pits like clunk, 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 and stalling it and sitting there restarting. And you see Dad who's embarrassed, and you're like, come on.
Well, it's not like you go somewhere to practice that, is it?
No.
You can't really say, give me an F4 car down the street and I'll learn it. You can't,
Yeah, so, sitting there bunny hopping and all these different things. But, you know, we had lots of guys there that were experienced. So, you know, they've all been there, I'm sure, you know, sitting there practicing. So, yeah, I didn't really mind, but yeah.
Yeah, so what were the emotions like when you first get out? Then everyone's away now. You're suddenly in the car. You're heading down the front straight or a circuit to Catalonia. That's I just can't believe that's epic. What was the emotion like? What was it? How cool was that?
Well, the emotion was pretty cool. You know, because the adrenaline, and then you also got different things you got to focus on with the, you know, the headwind's different, picking your head up because you don't have the wings and all that.
Were they at the radio with you?
Yeah, so you have the radio.
Crikey, so the full.
You're different into listening to radios, and you got the headwind trying to pick your head up and fly you back to Australia. Then you got different things. So the emotion really hits you when you're coming back in and the adrenaline settles down. You're like, I just drove an F4 car around an F1 circuit. This is sick.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah.
But you had obviously you know, it was through Marcus Antonelli, who's Kimi Antonelli's father.
Yeah.
So we reached out to him, and it was his team that he went through. So you know, you've got that pressure. He's checking in every day on me to see how he's going. You had your engineers. Who was your engineer from the Ferrari Drive Academy?
He started Ferrari Drive Academy and was Michael Schumacher's mechanic, then became a Ferrari F1 team manager.
Wow.
Yeah. So you had him, you know, sitting down with him every day. So there's a lot of pressure for a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, you know, and then trying to perform. And you know, you've never been in one of these cars or a new car. You had all the Prema drivers, you know, out on track. You know, you know, in between that we had the F1, the Aston Martin doing test days, you know, at the same track. So you know, we didn't have an ambulance on standby. We had a bloody helicopter. There was a medical helicopter on standby.
Yeah, wow.
Flew a helicopter there just for them. As soon as they stopped, they took
the
off.
helicopter. You know, and all of this. I was overwhelmed, and I wasn't even in the car. I was just going, "Wow, this is cool."
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So at that point, you probably thought, motorsport, this is for me, right? You feel I've made it. I'm going somewhere. Was there like this real thought process of I'm going to be a race car driver now?
Yeah, it definitely was. You know, having the Prema drivers who were so quick and, you know, supported by Ferrari and all that, you're just like, I want to be one of them one day.
Yeah.
But then, I went over to the Ferrari Academy, and, you know, there were a lot of different things, and I actually took the bullet. You know, people still fund all their money into F4 and F3 and F2 and finally get there and go like, I don't want to do this anymore, and they've just wasted the millions. Yeah. So I came back and I was like, you know what? I still want to be a race car driver, but I don't want to be open wheelers. I want to do the GT3s because as we were leaving, the night that we were leaving, Jaden Ojeda, who's a fellow Australian, went over there and he was doing hot laps around the Sepang circuit in a GT3, you know, with the lights on and the big cool. V8 and
flames shooting out.
They are a cool car. They are a cool.
And we're sitting down the straight, and you just watch one fly by, another under the lights, and I'm like, this is what I want to do.
This is for me. Tell me about the Toyota 86 series then, because that's obviously a pathway again. So this is a race car that you're going to be in, I believe. So tell us how that eventuated and what it entails and who you're doing it with.
So you obviously see your fellow go-karting mates, you know, they step up, you know all the motorsport, you see them step up to the 86, you know, you got Alice Buckley who stepped up, great mate of Dad's, Summer Rintoul who's doing it at the moment, you see all them, you go to, you know, the V8 rounds and you see them there and you see all the young kids like you and all your mates doing it. And then Dad just got in contact with a fellow friend that does it, that was over at the Ferrari Drive Academy, Lincoln Taylor.
Yeah.
And bought his car.
Yeah.
And then we sort of didn't have a direction of what to do, and you know, with different licenses and all that. But then Dad, who sponsors Chaz Mostert, he was really, you know, he started that whole GT4 team with Guy. You know, they have Method Motorsports that race the GT4 team, but he was like, I also want to do 86s, so he helped with, you know, he's reached out and supported us and helped us with, you know, doing races, and you've got to do 3 races to get off your P's. We're doing them at the moment.
So is this through Chaz, or is Richie still in the background?
No, so Richie's going to look after Oscar.
Yeah, righto. So moving into the Toyota 86 series, it's specifically with Chaz's team.
Yep.
So you're under the umbrella of Chaz's race team, and obviously he's going to mentor you through a series of 86 now in order to really in preparation for moving on further.
Well, that's right. So we bought the 86 because we're going to obviously do the scholarship series or the GT Cup series or whatever we're going to do. That's the next step we're going to take.
Yeah.
And then I sat down with Chazzy and I said, look, this is what Lockie wants to do. He wants to become a GT racer. And Chazzy turned around to me and he said, look, you've supported me over a number of years. If I can give you one thing, and that's making your son a paid GT race car driver, I've done my part. Dad doesn't have to pay. Yeah, this sounds all right. This sounds good.
Winner.
Yeah.
We'll have that.
So that's how it come up. And he said, no, look, this is the pathway we want to go. Get the 86. I'll run it for you. You run it under my team.
Yeah.
He'll go in the GT4s in the McLarens. We'll do the series there next year, but we'll run the parallel with the scholarship cars. So we're going to do scholarship. We're going to do the McLaren, the GT Racing next year, and we're going to do the scholarship series. So they'll run parallel together.
Cool.
And then we'll go over to. There's some more news coming, and we can't release it yet, but there's a different avenue there that will go the year after through Chazzy, and then and our long-term goal is for him to become a factory GT driver.
I've got some insider information on something that's going on in the background with that, so I kind of know who's going to be in this team, and the assistance is going to come for Chaz's team, and it's really cool where the people that are going to be involved, but he is going to be in basically a full-blown race team with engineers and everything supporting him to take his career through that next path, isn't he? So that's exactly where he's going, and it's now all about, to be honest, look, it's about you making it for yourself. You know nobody can now steer that steering wheel for you. You've got to push the pedals, drive the car, change the gears, and make the thing sing. How does that feel? Are you really up for this challenge? That's where you want to go.
It is where I really want to go, but I've had a lack of being a bit lazy, and it's a bit different to your old go-kart. You go out there, you just drive and all these different things.
Yeah.
But Dad's stepped up and got me a fitness thing, and you got to do all these simulating things. It's a bit different to a go-kart, so you actually. Yeah. You got to take a look at yourself and go, are you ready to, dial in and actually commit and, show Dad that he's still supporting the right person. So, you got to wake up early, you got to go to the gym, you got to do workouts, you got to go for runs, you got to do those things, and show Dad that he's still supporting someone that's actually, going to use his money to actually do something with it.
That's cool.
And I wouldn't call it lazy. I'd call him a 15-year-old kid. At the end of the day, he's a 15-year-old kid.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And he needs a bit of a push up the bum sometimes. I need it every now and then. Everyone needs it, but he's hard on himself. But no, he's made the transition and he's stepping up. And like I said, we've got the one-on-one personal coach that. Coaches many athletes at the moment, and no, it's going really good. We're going in the right direction.
Looks like he's going to be a star of the future.
Yeah, correct.
We're going to switch. Feel free to hook in during this conversation because we're going to have 5 minutes now. I'm really keen to see what the star of the karting fraternity at the minute, the colourful character, thinks about the state of go-kart racing minute. First of all, just recently there's been a programme from the UK put on Car Sport News, and also the guys in Australia have put on the ratio of adult kart racers to junior kart racers has gone from that to that. It's all juniors and no adults anymore. In your thinking and your time around the traps, and I'll probably think the same as you, karting isn't all doom and gloom. It's not all bad, is it? There's an awful lot of good stuff to come out of karting, and it just happens to be that the way the media present it, it's always about an avenue for kids to go from karts to cars. It doesn't have to be that, though. There can still be a 35-year-old jumps in a kart for the first time because he's got his V8 at home and fangs around and have fun in a go-kart track. What are your thoughts?
100% correct. And we bring sponsors out and families out to to all different tracks all over Australia, and we still do. We had my auntie and uncle down last weekend at Albury supporting Lachlan, and they brought some friends out. And when you see 35, 40 cars, whether they're Cadet 9s or their X30s going into that first corner, mate, the amount of people that walk away, I don't think I've ever had someone walk away from the track going, that was boring. They go, wow, we never knew that they went so fast. The race was so competitive. Yeah. I reckon it's I don't know any doom and gloom other than the politics. You get politics in the motors, in BMX. You get politics in, we know cheerleading families. There's politics there. Yeah. You get it anywhere. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, you put that behind you. I reckon go-karting's in a really good spot at the moment. Really good numbers. They're getting a lot of buy-ins from a lot of different people. There's a lot there you can sit there and criticise them. But I think with the numbers and what they're doing, the lack of volunteers is where we lack.
Yeah.
And everyone's quick to hang shit on Karting Australia oh, they don't do this, or they don't hang out enough penalties. They, they're running behind. Well, hang on. How about you, instead of sitting there in the tuck shop, gas bag and talking about it?
Go and do an hour on the scales.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Only an hour. Just do.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So and that's why I put I did the officials course. I get bored, so. In the same tent with Richie, doesn't go well all day, every day, and if I sit in the van, I'll end up buying a V8 supercar team or something stupid at an auction,
Yeah.
So I need to be busy, so I go out and help out on the track and do my thing. But it's also seeing both sides of the fence, I can sit there and go, well, hang on, have you actually gone out? Have you seen what these guys do?
Yeah.
And they only have so much time to review. Make sure that call was correct. Go back to video footage. Still keep the momentum of the track, the racing going, so it doesn't blow over. Because heaven forbid, if we're an hour late, everyone blows up. Oh shit, now we're over. But obviously, I've got my opinions. There's some things that could be done better. But I'll voice those when I see it and the timing's right. I'm sure everyone's got their own opinion of how they could do it better. But I think they're doing a really good job.
Thoughts on South East Queensland? I think we're in particular blessed in this neck of the woods because we've got. If you just look at the clubs, let's go 5 hours. Bundaberg, Coffs Harbour, Kalula, Toowoomba, Ipswich, Warwick. We're so blessed with a number of kart tracks and others that have got all different types of layout and type of elevation. So for a kid learning, you could throw them just in South East Queensland and they could become an expert at kart racing just in those clubs.
100%.
So we're very, very lucky.
100%. That's what I said when we were in lockdown. We did four events: Kalula, Toowoomba, Ipswich, Warwick. And that was first weekend, second weekend, third weekend, fourth weekend of the month. That was your month.
Yeah.
And you start again.
Yeah.
And it was so cool.
Yeah.
I don't know about Sydney. What's Sydney got? If you're out in the western suburbs, how many tracks do they have out there?
They got Eastern Creek and one other. That's it.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
And we've got Lismore here as well. Lismore, another good one, another cracker. Lismore.
I would love a Gold Coast track.
Yeah,
I would, but
it might be extreme. Yeah, there's talk.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
It is on the cards still.
Yeah, no, definitely. But like you said, we are very blessed to have it. And especially, we went up to Darwin earlier this year. Those guys up there got one track.
Yeah.
One track.
Yeah.
Darwin.
Yeah.
And we are so blessed in the southeast Queensland, corner to, like you said, 5 hours, and we did
we got a bit bored of the same 4 tracks, so we went with Desi. We did a trip up north with the whole team, the Grundes and the Rassos. We went up to, what did we do? There was a meeting on at Kalula, so we went Kalula, then we went to Bundaberg, then we went to Gladstone.
Gladstone's a good track to have raced that.
Then we
That's so
came
cool.
all the way back down. Then the next holidays we did one down south. And we went
Cool.
Coffs Harbour, Dubbo, Newcastle.
All the good tracks. Yeah, there's so many. Yeah,
so that was one school holidays we went up north, and the second school holidays we went down south, and it was really cool. It was awesome. It was really, really good.
Last question. I'm going to keep because we're going to go 40. That's the longest show we've done.
Well, okay.
But I really want to get your thoughts on the number because this is the criticism they try to lay out all the time, and I don't know that there is a solution. Number of classes in karting. All the older guys, and I've just come back from Retro Kart in Australia in Orange, we used to have 2. We used to have 2 classes, that was it, and they will always lay that on you. But nowadays, you've got to have cadets, you've got to have juniors, and then the seniors, we just seem to have, I don't know, it was like 7 or 8 different classes, and then you've got, your different weights. What are your thoughts on the classes? Could it be compressed? Is there a need for it to be compressed? Because you find some of the smaller clubs, they have to combine, restricted with a medium, with a heavy, because they don't get enough in each class, and that's where they get unstuck or upset. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there's two different aspects here. You've got your National Series AKC, and then you've got your local club events. So I think there's too many classes. And obviously the oversubscribed. The Cadet 12s and the KA3 Juniors. And I'm not being biased because both of my kids are in each of those. But other than tag, they're the only 3 classes that really have oversubscribed.
Yeah.
That means if one of the boys DNF, that's your weekend's gone.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, buts, or maybes, and we had that with both of the boys this year in AKC. We sucked it up and moved on.
Yeah.
But that for other families that this is their avenue of life at the moment, and they invest everything in it. That's pretty heartbreaking to walk away. I'm not saying it's not for us, but to travel and put all you've saved all that money to go up somewhere and you're doing a DNF, and it might not even be your fault. You just in a collision.
Just
that's
the
your
first
weekend.
corner crashes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So. I reckon, in my eyes, Cadet 9s, I don't think they need to be at an AKC.
Too much pressure for the little kids.
100%, the parents and everything, and so, there's one class gone, don't do the oversubscribed.
Because
Do you think at club days they could compress it down to fewer classes and combine weights?
I reckon they could
because
combine- yeah, correct.
You know.
they got the open, and they got the tag restricted, medium, heavy, whatever you want to call
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
keep
heavy,
rambling
super
on.
heavy. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
just combine it all, make it a
yeah.
general weight somewhere. You know,
Yeah.
and if you're over, you're you know, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. And, but you're right. I reckon 100%. And you know what? If you get 3 or 4 classes. So this year we done Champion of the Futures, 3 classes: junior, medium.
Minis, so you got minis from your kids from 9 to 12, then you got your juniors, which are 13 to 15, then you got 15 to 17.
Yeah.
So that's it. 3 classes.
And it's just bang, bang, bang. We were
Well,
done
heaps
by
of
2 o'clock.
racing.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
we did a proper full race round in Saturday. So it was a qualifying 3 heats and a final. Presentation Saturday and then the same Sunday.
Yeah.
So and I like that idea because you know if you had a crap Saturday, you still know the track. You still got all your information, your gearing, and all your setup and everything. Then you can come back Sunday and have another good crack at it, you know. And I like that. And you know, if you compress the classes, more racing.
Cool.
You know, I'm not saying finish earlier, but you know, there's more racing. You know, and that's what everyone goes for. More laps.
Yeah,
is key.
exactly.
And they're not
Exactly.
oversubscribed over there either, because you come here and there's they can only have 40 on the tracks, and then they got 72 entries, so that's A versus B versus C versus D. So like when you come here and you have a bad round, you have to start 70th. So you come here and you have a bad round, you're knocked out for no reason at all.
Yeah.
So it's just 40 on the track, you go for it. If you DNF, you just start last. You don't have to go home.
Yeah, right. Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I've got one last question, all right? And this is for those that watch the end of this video. You're going to win a Wash It baseball cap. I'll make him give you one.
Done.
For the first person that can answer the question, when are we next going to see the Wash It Budgie Smugglers? When are they coming out next? What race meet are you going to put them on?
I got to be loyal to Darwin. I got to go.
Darwin?
Yeah, Darwin.
All right, first person to answer that question,
Darwin.
you gotta-
You'll
you
get
gotta-
a pair of budgie smugglers,
Beauty.
a pair of Crocs, and you'll get the cap.
Beauty, there you go.
Go.
You got to watch to the
Go.
end of the show.
Perfect.
Mate, listen, absolute pleasure having you both on. You are a colourful character.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming,
Thank
and it's
you.
brilliant.
Awesome.
Over and out.